While we discuss the importance of the intersection of human intelligence and artificial intelligence, one thing that is very important to continue to discuss is the impact of having relationships with things that are not real. And in our last episode, we talked quite extensively about how the impact of having a relationship with ChatGPT or an online companion can impact us as human beings. And today we're going to discuss, well, is there some good reason to actually have this relationship? And what we found is that with elderly patients, maybe end of life patients, or those with suffering from a disease like dementia, giving them some form of robot to build companionship can actually be very helpful for them. And this is what we're discussing today. And I'm here with Sabine, my co-host. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you, Abha. How are you today?
Really good and excited to get into this because this whole conversation around AI impacting our personal relationships and how we deal with humans is so complex and so nuanced. In our last episode, we discussed how we found it quite worrying that people are choosing to have companions with AI and choosing to put a lot of weight on relationships they're building with an AI tool and how that can be detrimental for them. But then we read about a company called Tombot, which has a dog called Jenny, which has been built like a real dog, but as a complete AI robot. But it looks like one, it behaves like one, it has sensory interaction options where you can hear it breathe and it responds to touch and it responds to being spoken to. And it is amazingly helpful and supportive for people going through health issues like dementia, who can't keep relationships with real humans, yet need relationships to keep them going, to keep them happy. Palliative care, where people are also, end of life, are resorting to having robots like the Jenny, which is from Tombow, and there are many others, to help them deal with what they're going through. And in this case, I feel it's completely legitimate because what there's very little other options that are sustainable.
I think that's the main point here about what you were just saying. It's about the amount of options that people have available or not available when they are in that stage of life compared to, for example, Gen Z members, like we spoke about it last time, who are not restricted to having to use an AI companion, for example. Whereas, and I'm sharing a very personal story here now. My dad, he is 81 years old now. He lives by himself because my parents separated many years ago. And my dad is starting to show very early signs of dementia. He lives in his apartment, and I've been offering him many times to arrange for someone who could come and take care of him, to arrange for someone who could just be with him for some time, because all of that is possible. My dad lives in Germany. We could basically just get approval from the German state, and then somebody would show up. But my dad, like many other older people in that phase of life, is not willing to admit that he actually needs help. In his view, he is still capable of doing everything by himself, whereas when you actually see him, and since he lives in Germany and I'm based in Dubai, I don't see him that often anymore. But when I see him, it's so obvious that he would benefit a lot from having help. But he's too stubborn at this point to accept it. So instead of forcing something onto him, a tombot like Jenny would be great because I know that my dad has always loved dogs, but just like you were saying, he would not be capable to even take the dog out for a walk 3 times a day because he has difficulties walking down the stairs. He would probably also not remember to give the dog food on a regular basis and all of these things. But still, for my dad to not be alone and having that dog just for some interaction, just for knowing that he is not all by himself, would be definitely not only comforting me and for me knowing that, he is not alone in that sense, but it would also give him some sense of purpose. Because as we talked about it in the last episode, we also want to belong to someone and we want to feel that we are there to take care of someone. So even if it's not about taking the dog for a walk, even if it's not about, giving them food and water because they don't need it, it would still be being there for one another and bringing in that element of touch for oxytocin development, just like we said last time as well. So this is definitely something that I fully support from this perspective of living with someone through a distance who is going through these challenges.
And it goes the same for, end of life care, where people who are terminal are lonely, they're going through something pretty awful. They could be at any age of their life, and what they need and what could help them get through what they need to get through is a companion that can be with them all the time. And sometimes for another human to play that role, irrespective of your relationship with them, it's not feasible for whatever reason. So in this case, having a relationship with an AI dog like Jenny, or even chatting with an AI bot may be acceptable because that's just the phase of life that person is in. And again, it's not black and white. There are so many nuances to all of this because, again, the argument could be, well, we can't have a dog at home. My child wants a dog. I'm just going to get them a dog like the Jenny. And that's not acceptable, in my opinion, to me at all. If my kids want a dog, they're young, they're healthy. There is no reason for them to have an AI robotic dog. They want to have a dog, they should have a real dog. But the situation is different. So it is very nuanced. And again, it comes back to the fact that how can we incorporate technology into our lives at the right moment to help us with the right things, and then make sure we're not using them for the wrong things, because the line is getting increasingly blurred. And it also comes down a bit to our personal values, like what are we okay with and what are we not okay with? And that's a very personal decision. The reason we are speaking about this today is because we want you to be aware of these options and the conversation around them so that you can decide for yourself what's best for you. And it is very nuanced in this age of AI. And I really don't know how we are going to deal with it moving forward when everything becomes so integrated.
Yeah. I think it's very important to consider this availability of these tombots or AI robotic dogs as you were describing them when it comes to the actual intention, again, of their use. So I completely agree that if my children wanted to have a dog, now we have a real dog, I would not give them an AI robotic dog for the simple reason that I want them to understand real life. I want them to understand that many things that we want in life come with effort. And it doesn't just come with all the benefits of, for example, having a dog, being able to cuddle with him, being able to play with him, but they also come with, let's call it the downside of having to take the dog for a walk, even when it's hot outside, of having to give the dog food and water, of having to wash the dog every Sunday. In our case, that's my daughter's job, and she's trying to refuse it every single Sunday. But that is part of having a real dog. And my main motivation here in this discussion really is just for us also to understand that AI has been made and created to make our lives easier. It's been made and created to take work of us and outsource it to this algorithm. And in many, many cases, that is extremely beneficial. But I just want to emphasize that there needs to be a line that we have to draw, because life is not only comfort. Life is not only outsourcing everything that we don't want to do, but life is also having to look discomfort into the eye and just simply doing it for the bigger benefit that I'm looking for. Because if we take it to an extreme, when we want to be successful in life, it's extremely unlikely that we will be as successful as we want to be if we are not willing to work for it. Working for it and taking the discomfort and taking the effort is a big part of becoming successful. And that is something that I need my children to learn. So I wouldn't give them an AI dog that only comes with all the benefits, because I want my children to understand if they want something, they need to work for it. They need to take the dog out for walks and they need to wash him and all of this. If they don't want to do this, then there is no dog. And no dog, no AI dog, no real dog. But when they do it, when they take out the dog for walks and when they give him the food and when they shower him on Sundays, then they will see that they are actually able to build a real relationship. There is this dog that loves them, that is grateful to them, that wants to be around them, that wants to play with them. So those are all the benefits that only come with work. But then, of course, getting back to how we opened this conversation, when we are at a stage of life where we cannot do that work anymore because we are incapacitated, may it be because it's physical or if it's mentally, then those tools that have been created to make life easier are a wonderful addition and a really great choice to help people who cannot take care of themselves anymore, who cannot do the work to reap the benefits of things like this.
Or who need additional mental support that is just not possible to be provided on a 24/7 basis by another human being. So 100%, I mean, again, it's so nuanced, because coming back to the dog scenario with your children, I mean, depending on how you feel about this, you could argue we could get you a Tombot, a Jenny, so you see how it is to look after it before you get a real dog. But then again, that doesn't serve the purpose, because this Jenny is not going to act like a real dog. Well, we've not interacted with a dog like that, so I don't know what happens if you don't say or do certain things. I'm not sure how it's programmed, but there is no halfway, I don't think. You either use it for a real reason, a real intention to help a purpose, or you don't use it and you stick to what's real around you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree. In the end, this really brings us back to the entire theme of our podcast, which is, who do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who is accepting all of the wonderful possibilities that AI gives us, and you are living the, let's call it, maximum comfort because you are having AI do all of the work for you, which is of course one option? Or do you want to live a life that is very intentional, understanding that not everything comes that easy for us, and oftentimes there is simply effort linked to something if we want to have the outcome that we're looking for. So who do you want to be when it comes to an AI robot dog, for example? We leave this question with you, and we thank you very much for having been here with us again today, and we look forward to being with you next week.